Some 23 months after Aristide's violent overthrow, Haiti remains a country without democracy, where national elections have been repeatedly postponed. But the latest suffering, the uprooting of Haiti's nascent democracy, might have been avoided if only Aristide and his political opponents, led by business leaders and disaffected supporters, had managed to settle their differences peacefully before the armed rebellion. Much of the responsibility of trying to make that happen rested on the shoulders of this man, Brian Dean Curran, then U.S. Ambassador to Haiti.
Clearly, the promotion of democracy was at the very heart of what I was doing in Haiti.
Ambassador Curran ultimately failed as a peacemaker, but tonight he says publicly for the first time that his efforts were undermined by an unlikely source, elements of his own government.
The official policy was to accept that Aristide was the president of Haiti and to work with him to find political solutions to the political impasse. That was the officially stated policy. Those were my instructions. That was not always, however, the message that came from Washington.
Curran said that while he was telling Aristide's political opponents that they too must compromise, the opponents were getting a very different message through back channels from Washington.
Hang tough. Don't compromise. In the long run, we'll get rid of Aristide.
Directly contradicting.
And this was the kind of mixed message that I felt had a very nefarious effect on my ability to carry out my official instructions and U.S. official policy.
But it was who delivered this second message that most surprised and angered Curran.
There was another message that was coming from organizations that were funded by the United States government to work on the Haitian situation.
What groups are we talking about here?
The International Republican Institute in particular.
Based in Washington, D.C., the International Republican Institute is a nonprofit group that received $36 million in federal money in 2004. The IRI is one of several U.S.-funded groups whose mission is to promote democracy by building political parties and monitoring elections in more than 50 countries, including Venezuela, Iraq, and Afghanistan. George Foriel is IRI's senior vice president. When IRI receives federal money to do its job overseas, does IRI see itself as a representative of the United States government?
In many ways it does, absolutely. I mean, these institutions were created to project, if you will, to represent the practice, the ideals of the American democratic system.
Well, was IRI sending out a message to political parties in Haiti, activists in Haiti, that they truly represented American foreign policy and that you didn't?
Absolutely.
How did you feel about that?
I complained about it.
What was the response?
I did not get a satisfactory response.
Who'd you complain to?
My hierarchical superiors, if you will.
Why do you suppose you didn't get a satisfactory
Well, I don't know the answer to that question, and this has troubled me for a long time.
Is that because IRI had political clout that you didn't have?
I'll leave that to your judgment.